There has been a massive update in the Patty Kane saga that you're not going to want to miss here on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into that, we just want to say that 94% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you're looking for a home to daily NHL content, look no further. Go down below and hit that subscribe button. And we just wanted to take a moment to say thank you guys for getting us to 500 subscribers. We really appreciate it. And with that said, let's get right into the topic of the video today, which is Patty Kane rumored to sign with the Detroit Red Wings. And yes, as we see here from John Dietz on Twitter, a beat writer for the Chicago Blackhawks, he says, watch for Patrick Kane to sign with the Detroit Red Wings. Someone who knows Kane very well said Kane told him he wanted to follow Alex DeBrincat if and when he was able. Of course, there has been mutual interest, so we'll see if Detroit extends an olive branch. And here, it was in response to this post here by BR Open Ice, Patty Kane saying, could I come back early? Yeah, probably. It was a lot better than I was last year. Obviously, coming off that hip surgery, he's coming back from really good from this quote here. But we're just going to take a look at Patrick Kane. Obviously, has been a household name here in the NHL over the last decade. And, you know, someone who me and America have grown up watching. He's been a great player. Last year, obviously, he ended the year with New York, and then the rest of his career was in Chicago. Obviously, he's been a great player in Chicago his whole time. He's coming off a $10.5 million contract now. But, Mark, this is really interesting to me. You know, we haven't really heard much on Patrick Kane throughout this whole free agency, and getting this news today that he might sign in Detroit, I think it's just a massive ad for Detroit, and a team that, you know, is looking to get into the top four of the Atlantic this year. I think adding a guy like Patrick Kane could definitely get them there.
Yeah, the biggest thing with Patrick Kane, we all know at this point he is a bit of a shell of himself. We've seen him have 100-point seasons. He led the league in scoring a couple times. But the biggest problem is you see him slowing down a bit. I mean, the defensive liability is a big problem, but he still is a great power play guy. He's a guy you could slot into your top six, or if you wanted to hide him, even in a bottom six role. But I think overall, Detroit would be ecstatic getting a guy like this. You know, you put him in a situation with DeBrincat, he knows what he's like, he knows how to set him up, he knows how he plays. They're such a fast-paced team that I think Patty Kane would fit in perfectly. Like I said, even if it's just a bottom six role and a power play specialist. But it's just the situation where you get this veteran leadership, you bring a guy in to kind of push Detroit over this hump. And I think it's a win-win for both sides. Patty Kane gets back into the NHL. He gets to play with DeBrincat, an old buddy. He gets to play with a guy like Larkin. And then Detroit also takes the low-risk, high-reward on a guy like that could potentially even put up 40 points for you.
Yeah, definitely. And the big thing here is the big question mark surrounding Patty Kane is obviously this hip surgery that he just underwent. Obviously, if you could get Patrick Kane on your team to play 60 games for you, I mean, that would be phenomenal. I think at the point where he is in his career now, I think he's 34. And obviously, a hip surgery is a rough thing to come back from in the NHL. But I think, you know, Patty Kane could definitely come back and play 60 plus games. And like you said, I wouldn't put a doubt in my mind playing on this Detroit Red Wings first line. He could definitely pot 40. As we're going to take a look here at a projected line, would be Patty Kane on the right, centered by Dylan Larkin and Alex DeBrincat. And you know, this power play unit would be probably the best power play unit in the NHL with Patrick Kane, Larkin, DeBrincat, Raymond, and Sider back there. I think, you know, adding a guy like Patty Kane to your lineup is just going to boost the offense and, you know, just boost the Detroit Red Wings up that Atlantic Division leaderboard, like I said. And, you know, on a line like this, I think this power play unit could definitely be one of the top in the NHL this year if he does sign in Detroit.
Yeah, no, that would be a big thing too. You see a lot of these teams that might be interested in him just wants that kind of a boost in the power play. I mean, like even like a team like Buffalo, if he wanted to go home, could use a guy like this. But yeah, no, I think if Detroit gets him, it'd be huge. And we were talking about the hip injury. I mean, it was obviously kind of hindering him a bit last season. So you never know. He might come back more rejuvenated. He might feel better. He might even have a better year than he did last year. But with the age and injuries, it does get a little scary. But like I said, I think this is definitely a low risk, high reward. I think if there's mutual interest, you take the chance on him, and in the worst case, you can buy him out or just trade him at deadline.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, you see Patty Kane probably around a $3 to $5 million range now. I mean, you know, he is a big name in the NHL. You know, you're not going to get him very cheap. But I think if Detroit Red Wings and Shanahan them can definitely figure out, or Eiserman, sorry, and them can figure out a way to get him into Detroit. I think it would just boost this team, and playing with players like DeBrincat, who he's played with in the past, it would definitely just fit right in the lineup. But like you said, I think another team that could be in the running is Buffalo. Obviously, his hometown. I think Buffalo is in a great spot right now this season, and if any of these teams get Patty Kane, they're just going to boost up the Atlantic Division, I think, which is wide open this year.
Yeah, no, you said Shanahan. I mean, I'd take him on the Leafs in a heartbeat, especially in the bottom six. But no, I think it's going to be a situation where he won't go into next year without a team. He might even take a smaller deal, like maybe 1.5 million, just to kind of stay in the league, prove the hip injury wasn't a big situation, and that he can still compete at this level. And like you said, it's a situation where Buffalo or Detroit gets him. Not only is he going to be there for producing, but just the leadership's going to be huge on and off the ice. I mean, you've seen him stick around in Chicago for so long. As him and Taves were kind of, the 1-2 guys, and he might take a lesser role, but I think his impact will be huge still.
Yeah, definitely, and especially on Detroit, such a young team, getting a veteran of this quality in your lineup would just be amazing for these young guys for these guys who kind of watch Patty Kane growing up their entire lives and getting a chance to play with him and learning from him. It's only going to help their development, especially Lucas Raymond, a guy who plays the exact same position as him. I think would really benefit from having Patrick Kane there. Patty Kane has been one of the best goal scorers in the NHL during his time there. I think I'd love to see him back this year, and hopefully he can stay healthy and that hip doesn't hinder him at all this year.
Yeah, no, I really want to see him and Tage on a line together, Tage Thompson. I think that'd be a filthy line, just the mitts, just a big guy, small guy, kind of doing everything like magicians. But yeah, no, I think he's definitely going to sign. I think he's going to be huge for both teams, or whatever team he signs with, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to get into our next topic of the video here, which is obviously comment of the day. And the comment of the day today goes to Steven Brooks, who says, love the positive energy on the video, lads. Keep it up. Solid content. We just wanted to thank you, Steven, for watching the videos and enjoying them. And if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below and hit a like, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000. We're halfway there. Thank you guys for getting us to this point. We never thought that we'd be growing this fast, but we appreciate you guys, and we just love pumping this content out to you guys. But we'd also want to hear your comments on Patrick Kane. Do you think Detroit is the right fit for him, or where would you like to see him? I know Mark would like to see him in Toronto, and I would like to see him in Montreal, but I think Detroit or Buffalo is probably the right fit. But we'd like to hear from you guys. But with that said, I've been KC alongside my co-host Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.